On March 4th, 2020, Gros Doriane tweeted, "A while back, Dunkin' Donuts used Rob Gronkowski in some ads, but my friend and I had no idea he was a football player, so we thought Dunkin' Donuts came up with an original character named Gronk to advertise their energy drink, along with 2 photos from the ad campaign. Gronk drinks them, and he's got energy." This is the Museum of Twitter, the show where we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com. It's Sports Tweet Saturday, and I thought it would be fun to talk about a tweet about sports from someone who clearly doesn't know a lot about sports, or at least not a lot about football. Because as a big sports fan, I think it's sometimes important to remember what sports fandom, what football fandom looks like from the outside. Because I cannot at all blame Gros Doriane and their friend for not knowing that Gronk was an actual person. Gronk does not sound like a person's name. It doesn't sound like a first name or a last name, and obviously it is too close to the name of Patrick Warburton's character in The Emperor's New Groove. And these snapshots from the ad campaign definitely don't help. Neither of these poses seem like they're an actual person. And 2 things. I apologize if you hear some construction going on outside my window. This is a thing that happens in New York. And 2, let's be honest, making up a big galoot who gets energy from Dunkin' Donuts energy drinks would not be the craziest thing in the world. I think that was really helpful is that in the replies to the tweet, Gros Doriane actually showed the Discord conversation that they had with their friend where they realized that Gronk was a real person. Someone who's cropped out says, "That picture is literally how I learned about Gronk." Sad Clown Greg says, "Me too, LMAO." Gros Doriane says, "I thought Gronk was a Dunkin' Donuts original character." And Sad Clown Greg posted the "and he's got energy" photo with the caption, "Also thought he was a DDoC." I mostly want to include this conversation because the concept of a DDoC tickles me. Now, what people in the replies and the quotes pointed out is that, Gronk has other things that are branded for him. Like the Twitter legend DVS Blast said, "Monster had a Gronk flavor before I knew who he was, and I copped it to be like, let's see what a Gronk tastes like." And Augie Ford responded with a photo of the Monster Energy Gronk flavor and said, "What about this?" And a few years later, Campbell G quoted the tweet with an ad for the Gronk ball speaker, which is a football that is also a speaker, and said, "How deep does the rabbit hole go?" I think that's very funny to me, is that all 3 of these absolutely are Gronk-appropriate things to endorse. 2 of them are energy drinks, and Gronk is a high-energy guy. He definitely gives off the energy of someone who would drink Monster Energy, and he played most of his career in New England, so it makes sense that he would drink an energy drink from Dunkin' Donuts. And it also definitely makes sense that he'd be like, "Yeah, I want my speaker to also be a football. I love football." But I think something that's so funny to contrast with the public persona of Gronk, and the public persona of Gronk is, accurate. As far as I know, he's always been this way. I have a story from a friend who was at University of Arizona at the same time as him, and apparently the only time he ever saw him was at a house party where Gronk had a full cast on one of his arms but was still in the hot tub with 3 women. So that's an accurate picture of Gronk. But what that picture of Gronk doesn't tell you is that Rob Gronkowski is in the conversation for being the best tight end ever to play the game of football. It's arguable because he had a lot of injuries and didn't have the same longevity as an Antonio Gates or Tony Gonzalez, but definitely in my lifetime he was the most dominant tight end I'd ever seen. And unlike a lot of the other dominant tight ends like the Travis Kelce's of the world, he was really good at blocking because he is gigantic. But at the same time, he is also the guy who has his own branded cruise where you do lemon shots with him. Now, lots of people really enjoyed this thought from Gros Doriane, and lots of people also thought it was true. Dawn Summer said, "I'm telling my kids Dunkin' Donuts invented Gronk to sell energy drinks." And one of the bigger endorsements this tweet got is from comedian Rob Delaney, who said, "Woke up laughing, thinking about this tweet again." This was a full 2 years after this was tweeted. And this tweet kind of came back around to popularity after Gronk Twitter's AI. Scara said, "This is what the Gronk button looks like to me." And Althea Aficionalis said, "Gronk, is this true?" Parodying how people say, "Gronk, is this true?" And some people have made their own comedy edits of these photos. Why not LL83 edited the second photo to make it say, "I am 100 meters from your location and rapidly approaching. Start running." And KB edited it to make it about the anime character Burn, who's apparently from something called 7th Expansion, but is also from things that are deeper than that. I'm not really sure how to accurately describe this character, but as you guys know, when there is an anime reference that I assume is popular with other people, I endeavor to put it in the show. And what the popularity of this tweet, and the fact that it really resonates with people, is making me think about is why is Gronk such a singular figure? Tight ends generally aren't super famous. The only reason why Travis Kelce is super famous is because he's dating one of the most famous people in the world. But I think that this tweet from Ember really sums it up well. Somewhat related to this, but I've come to the conclusion that Rob Gronkowski is the closest any real person has gotten to being considered a himbo. Because yeah, that is kind of what his persona is. He has all the big meathead stuff that most football players have, but he also just seems really non-threatening and silly. And whether that's actually true, whether if you had a conversation with Gronk he would come off like this, I don't know. But that's definitely been his consistent persona since he became a famous person. Yeah, this ad campaign is silly, but it absolutely does work for Gronk. His larger-than-life persona is kind of closer to a mascot than an actual person. And I'm not sure how he feels about that. The thing about Gronk is that if his persona is close to his actual person, then he probably doesn't care at all. He's probably yeah, I get to go on a cruise with all my fans and drink lemon drop shots. That's great. And if that's true, that's why we love him. Follow me for a new tweet every day, and please consider joining my Patreon, patreon.com/Museum of Twitter. We had a weekly bonus episode called the Museum of Not Twitter, and you get to vote on what I cover on Subscriber Sundays.